Here's a detailed summary of the Eli Lilly Q4 2025 earnings call transcript, focusing on key financial metrics, forecasts, risks, and management statements. Eli Lilly and Company, LLY, Q4 2025 earnings call summary. Overall performance and financial highlights. Eli Lilly delivered a strong 2025, marked by robust revenue growth, significant pipeline advancements, and expanded manufacturing capabilities. The company reported full-year 2025 revenue of $65.2 billion, a substantial 45% increase compared to 2024, with earnings per share, EPS, growing an impressive 86% to $24.21. The fourth quarter of 2025 also showed strong momentum, with revenue climbing 43% year-over-year. Gross margin remained healthy at 83.2%, consistent with the prior year's Q4, balancing favorable product mix and improved production costs against lower realized prices. R&D expenses saw a 26% increase due to continued pipeline investment, while marketing, selling, and administrative expenses rose by 29% to support launches. The non-GAAP performance margin reached 47.2%, an improvement of 4.2 percentage points. EPS for Q4 was $7.54, inclusive of acquired IP R&D charges. Key financial metrics and performance drivers. Revenue growth drivers, primarily driven by key products, particularly incretin-based therapies like Mounjaro and Zepbound. Product performance. Kisanlo, Neuroscience became the U.S. market leader in amyloid targeting therapy with over 50% prescription share, generating $109 million in revenue. Ombo, Immunology global revenue increased 55% year-over-year. Jaypirca, Immunology global sales grew 30% year-over-year. Verzenio, Oncology global sales increased 3%, driven by ex-US volume, though US market penetration has plateaued. Zepbound and Mounjaro, cardiometabolic health both demonstrated strong results. Zepbound more than doubled its revenue compared to Q4 2024, holding nearly 70% of new prescription share in the branded obesity market. Mounjaro continued its strong uptake globally and maintained US market leadership in type 2 diabetes. Incretin analogs market, US continued robust growth, with total prescriptions up 33% year-over-year. Lilly believes there's significant room for market expansion given mid-single-digit penetration in the obesity population. Zepbound vials showed sustained growth, representing approximately one-third of total Zepbound prescriptions and nearly 50% of new prescriptions in Q4. International growth, strong performance outside the U.S., with double-digit volume growth in Europe, Japan, and China, and volume doubling in other regions driven by Mounjaro launches. Management's forecasts and 2026 guidance. 2026 revenue guidance, projected to be between $80 billion and $83 billion, representing a 25% increase at the midpoint compared to 2025. This growth is expected to be driven by industry-leading volume growth from key products, partially offset by lower realized prices. Price is a drag. Anticipate price to be a low to mid-teens drag on growth in 2026. This is attributed to the U.S. Government Access Agreement for Obesity Medicines, updated direct-to-patient Zepbound pricing, and lower Medicaid prices for later lifecycle medicines. Orforglipron launch. Expected to launch for chronic weight management in the U.S. during 2026 and most international markets in 2027. Medicare access. New Medicare access for obesity medicines is expected to become effective no later than July 1, 2026. Medicaid access. A reduction is anticipated in 2026 due to states like California removing obesity coverage, but new states are expected to add coverage in 2027. Product contribution, 2026 Eblis, Jaypirca, Inlurio, Kisanlo, and Omvo are expected to contribute to growth, while late life cycle products like Trulicity, Talsa, and Verzenio are expected to be flat or decline. 2026 non-GAAP performance margin expected to be between 46% and 47.5%. Gross margin is anticipated to be stable to slightly down due to price and new facilities coming online, offset by product mix and productivity. R&D investment. 2026 R&D expenses are expected to scale up, with 36 active Phase 3 programs and plans to initiate more new programs. Marketing, selling, and administrative expenses. 2026 expected to grow to support new launches, with a focus on leveraging existing commercial footprints. 2026 EPS guidance projected to be between $33.50 and $35. Significant risk factors. Pricing pressures. The transcript explicitly mentions pricing as a drag on growth in 2026, driven by various factors including government agreements and market dynamics. Competition. While not explicitly detailed as a risk in the prepared remarks, the Q&A touched upon competition, particularly for oral obesity medications, and the potential for cannibalization, though Lilly expressed confidence in market expansion. Regulatory timelines. While orforglipron is submitted in many countries, international launch timelines are projected for 2027, indicating potential delays or longer approval processes. Manufacturing capacity. Despite significant investments, meeting the demand for incretin-based therapies remains a continuous focus. Clinical trial success. The success of ongoing and future Phase 3 trials is critical for pipeline progression and future revenue streams. Reimbursement landscape. Changes in payer coverage, particularly for obesity medications, can impact market access and patient uptake. Highlights. Exceptional full-year and Q4 financial performance, demonstrating strong revenue and EPS growth driven by key products. Robust pipeline advancements. Significant progress in Phase 3 trials across multiple therapeutic areas, including promising data for new incretins and oncology assets. Manufacturing expansion. Aggressive investment in manufacturing capacity to meet growing demand, exceeding production goals for incretin doses. Successful new launches and indications. Bringing new medicines like EliLilly to market and securing new indications for Omvo and Jaypirca. International expansion. Completing international rollouts of Mounjaro and Kisunla. Artificial intelligence integration, strategic collaborations, and investments in AI for drug discovery and development. Market leadership in key segments. Kisunla's dominance in Alzheimer's, Zepbound's leadership in branded obesity, and Mounjaro's position in type 2 diabetes. Positive data from key trials, including the Together PSA, trials showing potential synergistic benefits in psoriatic arthritis and obesity. Orforglipron submission and anticipated launch. Submission in over 40 countries and expected U.S. launch in 2026. Retatrutide data. Promising results from TRIUMPH-4 showing significant weight loss and pain reduction in patients with obesity and knee osteoarthritis. Increased capital allocation to shareholders. $1.3 billion in dividends, and $1.5 billion in share repurchases. Lowlights. Price decline, explicitly mentioned as a drag on revenue growth in 2026, impacting both U.S. and international markets. Verzenio U.S. plateau. While globally growing, the U.S. market penetration for Verzenio has reached a plateau. Medicaid coverage reductions. Anticipated decrease in Medicaid coverage for obesity medications in some states in 2026. Most important statements from management. David Ricks, Chair and CEO, on 2025 performance. 2025 was a strong year for Lilly. We delivered robust revenue growth, advanced our pipeline, expanded our manufacturing footprint, and helped over 70 million people around the world. He emphasized a 45% revenue growth driven by key products and significant pipeline progress, including clinical data for 2 new incretins, orforglipron and retatrutide. On manufacturing, highlighted the company's commitment to manufacturing, stating, "We exceeded our goal to produce 1.8 times the number of incretin doses in 2025 compared to 2024. Since 2020, we've committed over $55 billion, the largest manufacturing build-out in company history." On patient access to obesity medicines, announced an agreement with the U.S. government for Medicare and Medicaid access to obesity medicines at a $50 out-of-pocket cost, calling it a proud moment. On market expansion, in response to questions about new oral obesity drugs, Rick stated, "We believe these price concessions will be more than offset by increased volume over time as we expand the number of people who can benefit from Lilly medicines." He also noted that early data from competitor oral launches indicates market expansion rather than cannibalization. On consumer stock analogy, acknowledged the difficulty in finding a direct analog for Lilly's out-of-pocket business, stating, "I am hard-pressed to think of an analog where you have this many people paying out-of-pocket for prescription medication." He suggested focusing on learnings from industries that reduce consumer friction and leverage first-party data. Lucas Montarce, Chief Financial Officer, on 2025 financials. "We delivered robust financial performance in 2025. Our full-year revenue of $65.2 billion increased by 45% compared to 2024, and earnings per share grew by 86% to $24.21. He also confirmed the Q4 revenue growth of 43% and a gross margin of 83.2%. On 2026 guidance, we expect revenue to be between $80 billion and $83 billion. The midpoint of our revenue range is an increase of 25% compared to 2025. He cautioned about the price drag in 2026, expected to be in the low to mid-teens. On Medicare ramp, we are expecting that access for Medicare will be granted no later than July 1st. We feel very positive about the opportunity to bring anti-obesity medications to patients in Medicare. As I mentioned, again, the copay of $50 for the patients would be a compelling value proposition. On orforglipron and market dynamics, the first month of seeing that data from competitor oral launches is mainly expansion of the market. So we are very encouraged, and it's very much consistent with our expectations and our guide. This summary provides a comprehensive overview of Lilly's Q4 2025 earnings call, covering the essential financial details, strategic outlook, and management insights.